Hello, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm doing something a little bit different. I'm recreating the famous Levain bakery chocolate chip walnut cookies. I first had these cookies about 3 years ago in New York, and to this day, they are the best chocolate chip cookies I've ever had, hands down, period. They are delicious, chocolatey, gooey, gigantic, thick with 2 C's, and I knew I had to recreate them. So last year I did. They were excellent, and I really wanted to do them again. I've finally gotten around to it. I'm gonna record it and show you how I make them. So let's just get to it because cookies await. First things first, I've got my ingredients. I've got my flour, cornstarch, talk about that in a minute, sugar. I've got a variety of chocolate chips just because the recipe calls for semi-sweet, but I like having a mixture. So I've got some dark chocolate here, and then some more just because this one's almost out. Some semi-sweet chocolate, and some milk chocolate. I've got salt, baking powder, baking soda, light brown sugar, and then butter and eggs. The recipe calls for unsalted as a preference, but I am trying salted butters because I like to have a balance of salty and sweet in my cookies. And also walnuts, cannot forget that. Now for tools, I've got my hand mixer, a bowl, and a spatula. I'm using these attachments on my hand mixer because it said use a paddle attachment, but I don't have that. So this will be easier to scrape the butter off than the regular attachments, like that kind. So I'm gonna use this. I think I might have used the other kind the first time I made these cookies, and it was, predictably hard to scrape the butter off. So I'm using these this time. Hopefully that'll be more helpful. I've got 1 cup of butter cut into tablespoons, and I'm gonna blend it up. All right, I've got my butter mixed up a little bit, so I'm gonna add the sugar and then beat some more. 1/2 cup of white sugar, 3/4 cup of light brown sugar. And now time to blend until the butter is mixed into the sugar. Well, I had to get in there and do some hand smooshing of the butter and the sugar with a fork just because it wasn't getting blended in there. I think next time I might let the butter soften a little bit before doing this step. All right, so 2 eggs. Okay, I've got the eggs mixed into the butter and sugar, and now here's where the cornstarch comes into play. Putting together the dry ingredients, I'm going to need a cup of cake flour. Cake flour can be a little hard to find. Also, it's a little more expensive than all-purpose flour. So if you've already got all-purpose flour and cornstarch at your house, here's what you can do. So here's a cup of all-purpose flour. What you want to do is take out 2 tablespoons of your all-purpose flour and then replace that with cornstarch. And I'm gonna go ahead and do that now so I can level this off correctly. Okay, so this is the 2nd tablespoon of flour I'm taking out. I'm just gonna put it back. And then I'm gonna replace that with cornstarch. Right, so this is the 2nd tablespoon of cornstarch I'm adding in. So you're basically swapping out 2 tablespoons of your 1 cup of all-purpose flour for 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. I'm just gonna whisk it together with a whisk or a fork just so it's blended in. And that's your substitution for cake flour. All right, so my dry ingredients are mixed up. I've got all of my flour, got a teaspoon of baking powder, a teaspoon of baking soda, 1/2 teaspoon of salt. It says coarse sea salt, but I just used regular salt. Now I'm just pulsing the dry ingredients into the wet ingredients. I added them in 3 batches, so I did like a little bit first, pulse that just for like a couple seconds, and then 2nd batch, 3rd batch of my dry mixture that was in my other bowl. All right, I'm gonna keep doing that. All right, I'm adding all the walnuts at once. That's 2 cups. And then pulse 5 to 6 times. So for the chocolate chips, I like to do a blend. I think it adds a more complex chocolate flavor to the cookies. So the recipe calls for 2 cups of semi-sweet chocolate chips, and I'm going to do 1 cup of semi-sweet chocolate chips, and then a 1/2 cup of milk chocolate, and then a 1/2 cup of dark chocolate. So here's my chocolate chip blend. It's looking so delicious already. So these are the Ghirardelli morsels for dark chocolate. The semi-sweets are also Ghirardelli, and then I've got just store brand milk chocolate. I thought I might need the Nestle, but I didn't have to open another bag, so I'm good. Everything is mixed together and it looks so good. So this is something else that's not in the recipe, but that I've seen other people do. You want to refrigerate this cookie dough for about an hour, and that will help the dough stay up in the oven instead of the cookies falling really fast, because these cookies are fat. So they're going to be baked at a very high temperature very quickly. So in order for the cookies to stay as a large mound, it's going to be very helpful for them to be refrigerated beforehand. I'm going to go ahead and form these into large cookies and then refrigerate them. These are the shaped cookies. These cookies are formed by hand, so they're a little rougher, and they're also gigantic. Do not skimp on this part, or else you just have regular chocolate chip walnut cookies. They have to be big. Let me show you for comparison next to like my head. This is the cookie. Don't make it smaller. It's about 6 ounces each. It's like huge, okay? These are some fat cookies, all right? They're thick, 2 C's. And now into the fridge they go for an hour. Again, for comparison, fist, cookie. Fist, cookie. Don't make them smaller. Don't do it. All right, here we go. So here are the cookies. I let them chill for over an hour. An hour is just your minimum time. So I let them chill a little bit longer. And I've preheated the oven to 400. An important part of this recipe is to heat the cookie sheet in the oven while it's preheating, because again, these cookies are meant to cook quickly so that the outside is crispy while the inside is gooey. All right, I'll go ahead and put these on the pan. All right, these are going into the oven at 400 degrees for 11 minutes. Bake only 4 cookies per pan. All right, these look good. These cookies are done when they're a little bit golden on the top and also golden on the bottom. I'll go ahead and show you that. So, as you can see here, there's definitely a golden bottom. And the deal with these cookies is they're kind of like meat. They're so thick, like you have to let them set. They're gonna be gooey right now, but they're gonna continue to rest even after you take them out of the oven. So don't overcook them, because you gotta let them rest and set after you take them out of the oven. I'm gonna go ahead and slide these off the pan and do the next batch. And last batch coming out of the oven. All right, and that's it. So again, these need to cool for at least 15 minutes so they can set. The insides are gonna be gooey. The outsides, as you can see, are crispy. They're so good, so worth it. I hope you give it a try. And that's it. I finished the Levain chocolate chip walnut cookies. I've got all cookies out of the oven. They're cool. They look delicious. I cannot wait to bite into these. Wow. Which one should I break into? See this one. It's already a little bit broken. Oh, wow. Just look at that center. Oh, that's amazing. There it is, folks. If you decide to try this recipe, I hope that they come out as wonderfully as these did. They smell so good. I'm gonna go ahead and try one of my cookies. That's amazing. Wow. This is is definitely better than the last time I made them. So yeah, I definitely would go with the salted butter instead of the unsalted butter. Wow. So clearly, I'm a little occupied now, so I'm gonna go ahead and sign out. Enjoy making the recipe. I'll see you around.
Chocolate chip cookies, my love.